Earlier this afternoon, Shams Charania dropped an absolute nuke when he gave us the great news of a trade going down between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets. And a lot of people have already spoken about this trade, but I believe this trade benefits both sides in what they're going to pursue. And I wanted to break down and look at it from that light. Without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. So, like I said in the introduction, earlier this afternoon, we saw a trade go down in the NBA, the first one to go down since the trade restrictions were lifted on a majority of the players post December 15th. Now, we did see two trades go down before that, but they were obviously went through officially to the 15th, but no trade has gone through since that moment. We've been around 2 weeks since that day, and the Lakers were the team to strike next, as they have agreed on a trade sending D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and three second-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. Now, honestly, this is hilarious when you look at it. When you saw the initial report seeing D'Angelo Russell, who was a Los Angeles Laker and a Brooklyn Net in his previous tenure, being traded once again from the Lakers to the Nets. Kind of funny to see that go down. Also, funny to see the Lakers actually get involved with something, as reports were coming out that a couple minutes before that the Lakers were waiting to make a move until February 6th or a later move. So kind of really weird to see the Lakers have that report out, but then strike right away. But that's what it is all in the NBA, smoke and mirrors. And we saw that at its best example today. But it's nice to see a trade go down. And now we're going to be looking at initially what each team got and where it benefits them. First, we're going to be diving into the Los Angeles Lakers. So for the Lakers here, they obviously are getting the better pieces in this deal in acquiring Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton are both going to be nice additions for this Lakers team that want to be competent in the West. And we saw Dorian Finney-Smith's name come up yesterday in rumors revolving around the Memphis Grizzlies, as some talks had increased. But with the Memphis Grizzlies not willing to include the future first round pick, talks were then stalled, and the talks picked up with the Lakers, in which they were able to secure Finney Smith for a very, very solid package in my eyes. First, obviously, as we can see, the Lakers did not have to give up a first round pick, which was key in what the Lakers are wanting to do to rebuild. Yes, they had to give up multiple seconds, but multiple seconds are clearly viable now with the new CBA and with their contracts being a little bit cheaper and still being to be playable on rosters. And for the Los Angeles Lakers to hold on to those first round picks, that still allows them in this era with LeBron or in the post LeBron era to still make moves or to still be able to have draft capital to draft young talent if that era does eventually happen. The Lakers also move off a contract in D'Angelo Russell, a player that had not been really producing for them so much this season in their starting lineup, to where he was moved for the bench, and for a player in Maxwell Lewis to acquire personally the best player in the trade in my eyes in Dorian Finney-Smith. As Shams says, he's a versatile 3-and-D wing who is shooting a career high 44% from three-point land. Lakers are also creating salary and luxury tax flexibility by saving $15 million by doing this deal. The Nets will receive draft capital in clean salaries in return. And if we want to look at this from Bobby Marks, we can see that the Lakers obviously are getting that much needed wing depth and flexibility, similar to what Sham said, but it drops them below the second apron, as they are now $3.5 million below the second apron, where previously they were 30K below. With Dorian Finney-Smith making 14.9 million this year and a player option next year at 15.4 million, and with Shake Milton making 2.9 this year with 2 years non-guaranteed, it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more flexible than obviously D'Angelo Russell, who's on an expiring $18 million contract, and with Maxwell Lewis on that 2.7. They're saving a little bit of money there, and that gives them more flexibility when wanting and going out and doing trades. Now they can send out, they don't have to max contracts like straight up. They have a little bit more flexibility. They can add some better players on the buyout market, and that is what it is attainable and attractable for LA. And I think they went and did their best move here. They needed another 3-and-D wing. Hachimura has been solid for the Lakers this season, but they needed that extra beef on this bench. They've been missing it with Jared Vanderbilt these last couple seasons with him dealing with injuries, and they needed that gritty, grimy defender that's going to be able to either start in place alongside some of these lineups with LeBron and Anthony Davis if there are some injuries. But if they are fully healthy, most likely come off the bench as one of those big, reliable pieces for this team. Now, Finney Smith, I think, regardless off the bench or starting with this team, is going to be a key impact player and is what exactly the Lakers need to do. Now, I don't think this is a home run swing, the type of the move that the Lakers necessarily are going to put them back into the title contention fully, but I do believe this is a right step in the right direction. Getting off a contract in D'Angelo Russell, who was a bigger salary that wasn't providing what you needed anymore in that guard rotation. And it still allows you to have that flexibility with being able to bring on more salary onto your team with having some more flexibility, but also being able to get rid of not all of your deadbeat contracts. You still have some other flexible pieces. You still have those first round picks that are still available as well that you can still attach to some of those other names to make even more upgrades. And I truly think this isn't the last step for the Los Angeles Lakers. If you want to address Shake Milton as well, he is a solid scorer for this Lakers team. He could be a solid bench piece to fill in for D'Angelo Russell. And like I said, Russell was previously coming off the bench. Shake Milton can be that playmaker. He was having a solid season in Brooklyn as well. And necessarily, he can kind of fit into that role as a seventh to eighth, possibly even ninth man coming off the bench for this Lakers team, depending on the upgrades that they do decide to do. I still do believe that the Lakers, like I said, are not done making moves. This is their roster currently at the moment. Reeves, Christie, James, Hachimura, Davis, with Vincent, Milton, Connect, Shafino, Bronny James, Reddish, Finney Smith, Vanderbilt, Wood, and Hayes. I still do believe they do need a center upgrade, trying to move one of those players in Wood or Hayes to possibly get that. Maybe even moving a player in Vanderbilt now that you do have Finney Smith and Reddish off the wing there with Connect. And you could still look to get a guard upgrade as well, depending on how viable you are in Gabe Vincent. But I do believe that the Lakers could still be a team searching for upgrades and could be a team that is still going to be making noise. And if they are going to do that, then they are not that far away from being that top one of those top teams in the West, even if they don't have that third star. And yes, I do think Austin Reeves is very good, but I don't necessarily think he can be that third star on a championship team. I just want to get that prefaced. But next, let's look at this from Brooklyn. As Brooklyn, like I said, is getting off a player in Dorian Finney-Smith, a team that is wanting to tank, has been doing a little bit better than expected, is looking to obviously bring on some unnecessary wanted contracts, and obviously get into a little bit of a retool so they can get into the Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper sweepstakes. So trading a player like Dorian Finney-Smith, players like Cam Johnson are expected, and I do believe that this is a solid haul for the Nets as well. First, they get 3 second-round picks, which if we see from Shams Charania, are their own second-round picks in 27, in 2030, and 2031. So with these 3 second-round picks, obviously we don't know the future or the potential of the Lakers roster in 27, but not even the potential in 2030 or 31. Those could be 31, pick 30, 32, 33, 35. Very high second round picks to where if you have multiple of those, you can package them and use them for future talent. And for the Nets, they have accumulated from the Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith trade 5 seconds. Therefore, Brooklyn now has 31 draft picks in the next 7 years, with 15 first round picks in 16 seconds, setting themselves up similar to like a team like Oklahoma, like Houston Rockets, having a young talent pool while also still having a enormous amount of draft capital to use in potential trades. And when you do have those young stars, once you have that core, you can use those draft pieces to find your middle of the edge guys to kind of fill in your edges and be those competent team with your young squad, or to use it to go and get a big star to bring into the city of Brooklyn to then make your city a championship contender. I'm really liking what Brooklyn is doing in this direction. A lot of people are like, why are you taking back D'Angelo Russell? It's a little weird taking him back, obviously, after shipping him out with the KD and Kyrie drama. And I understand Obviously, it's not the perfect fit in that regard, but if D'Angelo Russell can ignore that statement, I think this is a perfect fit for both parties. And why I want to scream why is because D'Angelo Russell is on an expiring contract, and this is key for a team like the Brooklyn Nets. They want to shed salary, they want to get off the salary, they want to have contracts that people necessarily don't want, or players that might be making a little bit much than what they necessarily are expected to be making. And Russell could be a comparable player on a championship team, not necessarily a third star where he was on the Lakers or possibly fourth star, but I do believe a fourth or fifth star on a good championship team, Russell could be viable, and that could be presented to the Nets possibly this trade deadline where they could look to move off of him, or the Nets could look to possibly move off of D'Angelo Russell next season, depending on what they're looking to do as well, which could be key for the Brooklyn Nets. Also, with Russell kind of not coming back to with him coming back to Brooklyn, he can start in that point guard role, similar to where Dennis was playing for this team alongside Cam Thomas. I know it is not a perfect fit, but this is the type of player that the Brooklyn Nets want. A player that is making maybe a little bit more money than he's expected to be, maybe not fitting in the right role because he's playing in a little bit of a down season. If he is able to pick up his stats and able to rebuild his stature, the Nets could be a team to be able to rebuild that value and be able to get some positive assets out of it. Not something that the Lakers wouldn't be able to do at this very moment when they need changes. And they also get a player in Maxwell Lewis that I don't know much about, but he is a young player on the Lakers. And what we know from young players on the Lakers, from seeing them move on to go to other teams, guys like Jay Huff, guys like Scottie Pippen Jr., guys like Lonzo Ball, they do eventually develop and they can turn into some diamonds in the rough and potentially have some really good seasons on some new places. So I do believe a player like Maxwell Lewis isn't a player to write off at this very moment, especially on a young Nets team. He could get that exposure, could get that playing time, and could just, spark out of nowhere. But ultimately, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I think both teams ultimately win this deal. The Nets obviously get that draft capital. They get to obviously shed some money, get to potentially keep Russell for the future in his reunion with Brooklyn, and get to move off of Dorian Finney-Smith with some good draft capital from the Lakers in the long term future in its second round picks. For the Lakers, they obviously don't have to give up first, only have to give up second, still get to keep some draft capital and still have some movable contracts as well to make some upgrades at that guard position, at that center position, to really push them and catapult them into a new conversation in the Western Conference. But let me know what you guys ultimately think down below in the comment section, how you guys ultimately feel about this trade. What would your rankings be? And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day and peace out.